What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. It's Professor Anime coming back at you with another video. And in today's video, guys, I am here to bring you all my review of Volume 10 of Berserk. So there's a lot to talk about in this volume. So without further ado, let's get this started. So, at the beginning of this volume, we get to see that Griffith has pretty much just been completely, disposed of. He is still living, but at this point, we come to find out in the later portion of this volume is that, his tendons have been cut, his feet tendons have been cut, he's been, whipped to the point where his skin will peel off, his tongue has been cut out, dude, and this, he was tortured for over a year, over a year of torture, and yet he is still alive. It's really hard to believe that Griffith would withstood that much torture, and he couldn't end up killing himself because the torturer ended up cutting out his own tongue. So, jeez, and we have it to where Griffith is even questioning his sanity at this point. He's like, what should I do? What could I do? I don't have anything much to live for right now. The only thing that is keeping me alive at this point is guts. Let me read you right here what it says. Only him, like lightning on a dark night, he rises up within me blazing. And again, like a tidal wave, an infinite number of feelings surge upon me. Isn't that how Guts first felt about Griffith when it came to him, thinking about Griffith's dream? He was that burning, blazing fire. Now, the burning, blazing fire has, has pretty much, gone in a different way. Griffith's fire has been put out, and Guts is now that burning, blazing fire, because now, Griffith, can't really do anything about his dream at this point. Guts, he is still going on living, still trying to find a purpose, and that's what Griffith is thinking about at this point. Malice, friendship, jealousy, futility, regret, tenderness, sorrow, pain, hunger, so many recurring yearning feelings. That giant swirl of violent emotions in which none are definite but are all implied. That alone is the bond which keeps my consciousness from vanishing amidst the numbness. As I stated before, Guts, at this point, is the only thing that is keeping Griffith alive. Now, a lot of mysteries and questions are surrounding this volume of Berserk, but one of them that stands out the most is when we hear Judo and Princess Charlotte talking to the rest of the band of the Hawk members, the ones that are trying to rescue Griffith in the torture room, when, she is talking about, pretty much, the tower that was built upon and what it symbolized and whatnot. And we also get back to the Skull King, apparently. We learn about him. Now, apparently it says that his name was Supreme King Yazarek. He was an emperor who was able to subjugate dozens of nations and establish an age-old empire encompassing this entire continent for the first time and only time in history. No one knows what country he came from, or when or how he raised an army. No reasons whatsoever remain regarding his account prior to his arrival on the stage of history. So, this guy right here, where did he come from? Where did he come from? This guy, because later on in this volume, we see this guy, okay? He looks human right here. He really does. He looks human, and he has the same sort of a skull-like feature as the Skull Knight that was in this chapter of Berserk. Let me see if I can find it really quick. Where are you? Where are you? This guy right here. This is the Skull King, okay? And he looks like he has the exact sort of helmet that this guy has right here. However, honestly, this guy's skull is, probably a real skull. It's not a helmet. Now, when it comes to the Skull King, okay, we see him rescue, we do see him rescue Ricket in this volume of Berserk when pretty much the band of the Hawk gets completely annihilated Only Ricket is the last one standing. Let me try this again. This guy right here. Here's the Skull Knight. So, yeah, he looks exactly like this guy. This guy looked like he was a, human-type figure, but this guy is, probably dead at this point, and this has, an actual skull. It's not an actual helmet that this guy would have, because this is the helmet. This guy does not have the helmet. So, yeah, anyway. So, when it comes to these demons, we can take at least from, the previous volumes, is that basically people who have been subjugated to the God Hand are previous people who ended up being human, and because of the God Hand, they ended up becoming monstrous creatures. Because actually, we get to see that. Oh, man, this guy right here. So we have the Skull Knight right here. Here is this Sir Gazarak, the King Gazarak guy, who has the skull-like helmet, and then here is this guy who is named the Skull King, and he doesn't really necessarily have a skull-like helmet. In fact, his helmet is his actual head, but when it comes to the Skull King, he is one of the biggest mysteries when it comes to Berserk, at least in these earlier volumes, because one, he ends up meeting up with Guts, okay? And he doesn't do anything to Guts. He only gives a prophecy to Guts. And also in this volume, we get to see that he ends up rescuing Ricket after the remaining of the band of the Hawk members get completely obliterated. They're annihilated. They're done for. It's only Ricket. Ricket is the only one to survive. And the Skull King helps Ricket out. He helps him escape, pretty much, from the demons that have now sprawled about within Berserk. I mean, for example, in the earlier volumes of Berserk, we got to see Guts, take on this snake-like creature in the beginning volume of Berserk during the Black Swordsman arc. However, we're going to the past, so we see that, this snake-like creature ends up making a return now. And we also have it to where we see the Count here. So, are these different types of demons, or are they completely the same demons that we see in the Black Swordsman arc of Berserk? That's just a question, because they look exactly the same, but are they the same type of demon? It's very interesting. Now, also, when it comes to that saying that Princess Charlotte and Judo were talking about right here when it came to Skull Knight, directly after that, she goes on saying that then the king lived in the utmost extravagance while levying heavier and heavier taxes on the people. The city ended up becoming a melting pot of feasting and pleasure, at least I think. And then there's a little quote that goes right here where there's 5 angels, okay? It says, "But God finally decided he couldn't condone the Skull King's deeds and sent 5 angels. By lightning and great earthquakes, the city was erased from the face of the earth without a trace in the spawn of a night." If we go back to the previous volumes of Berserk, like in Volume 3, I would say, we get to see there are 5 demons that make up the God Hand. We see, 4 of them that we haven't really seen in the later volumes of Berserk, but they will make an appearance. But we also see Femto. Femto is known as Griffith. So Griffith, in this case, if what we can gather, Griffith would be the 5th God Hand, wouldn't he? He would be the 5th person to take upon the God Hand. So he would be known as the 5th angel, right? But when it comes to these angels right here, who was the 5th one in the past? And apparently they were ordered to take down the Skull King. So because maybe the Skull King doesn't agree as to what these past angels or 5 people of the God Hand have done in the past, does that mean that, that is why the Skull King is actually helping out Ricket and Guts and all that later down the line? I don't know. It's very confusing, but hopefully our questions will be answered in the coming volumes to come. Yo, but this right here, Guts goes batshit crazy in this volume. After what he sees, what Griffith went through in the torturing room, he completely snaps. He ends up taking on the torturer, completely just shoves his whole sword within a wall that a normal sword won't be able to penetrate, and he completely just goes right through the door, and the sword goes through the torturer, kills him, and then a bunch of the soldiers, the Midland army, ends up coming down to try to capture Guts and everybody else, and he just completely goes through all of them, completely chopping them in half, swinging his sword left and right. He isn't, giving anybody mercy whatsoever. Heads are splitting in half. He just goes nuts. And, we see right here, he's staggering, and he's just going like, he's completely just gone insane at this point. And I can pretty much, relate to Guts at this point, because if you had someone, while you might have your differences between one another, in this case Griffith, Guts saw Griffith as a friend. Pretty much his first ever friend that he ended up having, and Guts had a pretty dark past, and honestly, he is still living through one hell of a fight right now, to be honest with you. But if you had, someone who you ended up looking up to, someone who you would consider a friend, you would be completely as, enraged as Guts is within this volume if, someone ended up doing something to your friend who you considered a friend. So, like, just seeing Guts, like, I could feel the emotion that he was feeling, and whew. Also in this volume, we get to see, Guts take on the Bakiraki, which is like a little tribal group that is highly intelligent in the field of assassination. But when it comes to, the best members of the Band of the Hawk, like Pippin, Judo, Koska, and Guts, it's gonna be kind of hard to bring them down. I mean, they just completely slaughter the Bakiraki group. They completely just, waste them. They're done at this point. They're done. So, yeah, that pretty much covers everything in Volume 10 of Berserk. So, yeah, I can't wait to read more Berserk volumes. I cannot wait to read the new ones, which I recently got. Like, cannot wait to read me some more Berserk. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions down below on what you thought about this volume review of Berserk, and what did you think about the overall volume of Berserk. And of course, if you like this video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you want to stick up to date with my future content on this channel, please hit that red subscribe button below, and you will never miss a video. That about does it for this video, guys. Love you all, and I'll catch you later. Peace!